Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Calm Magician, and again, I'm on vacation, so I've got some time to make some of these videos here. The last few videos we've been looking at, we looked at equivoque, a very long, comprehensive video on equivoque. Then I gave you a discussion on using equivoque to minimize the amount of information that one needs to memorize or to prepare in order to do an effect. That can be a very powerful tool. To make things a little bit more accessible, a little bit easier for us to do. If you're using a stack deck but not a mem deck that is known intimately, and you need to do some calculations or some alterations to the deck, using equivoque to limit those alterations and calculations can be a very beneficial tool. So I gave you discussion on that. And then the last video, I gave you a demonstration of what this could look like, at least in terms of manipulation, and using equivoque to help in some of those circumstances. And we looked at a stack that is, I've not actually seen this presented as a stack anywhere. My understanding historically of deck stacks is fairly limited because I don't do a lot of that work. If any of you knows of the name for this kind of stack, where you have flipped and alternating values, evens running this way, odds running this way, and in this case we're looking at it separated by suit. So I have spades and diamonds here. It's for both groups, evens, for me, it's spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds. For odds, spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds, running alternate. So I have spades and diamonds, clubs and hearts in the middle. And obviously, this type of stack could have a different configuration of suits as well, maybe even an alternating suit. But if anybody knows of a name for this kind of thing, go ahead and let me know. Likewise, if there is no name for this, let's name it. Let's name it. Put your suggestions in the comments below. What should we name this? And I'll pick the one that I think is the best, and that's what we'll call it. Okay, so if you know historically what it is, please put a comment down there and explain that you've heard of this before, or it looks like something, and describe what it is that you've seen before, and we'll call it that. Or if you have an idea for what to call this, put it in the comment section, and then we'll name it. Okay. But anyway, my point in the last video was that you could have a stack that actually is barely mixed up. It's barely mixed up, but it carries the elements of illusion that makes it look shuffled upon fair and realistic viewing. And I really mean this by realistic viewing. And I just want to test this out just for a moment. Imagine that you're doing a trick with a shuffled deck of cards in use. Shuffled deck in use, truly shuffled in use. And you want to demonstrate that the cards are shuffled. You will do it like this. You'll say, and you can see the cards are all mixed up, all shuffled, right? Or you'll say, and you can see the cards are all mixed up, all shuffled up. And then you'll move on. So this is a circumstance where you actually are not hiding anything. You're just demonstrating the actual truth, if you even care. Okay? In most cases, you'll just have a spread, and in subtlety, it will be obviously understood that it's shuffled as you're talking about something completely different. And then you move on from there. Or it'll be shown in a spread for someone to select something, and it will be obviously demonstrated that the deck is shuffled. That is reality. So if you incorporate the real into the use of a stacked deck, what it ought to look like is this. I've got a deck of cards. You can see that they are all mixed up, no particular order to this. The illusion there, even though it's in evens running this way, alternating with odds running this way, by full suit groups, spades and diamonds, clubs and hearts in the middle, even though it has that much order to it, the elements of illusion of blacks and red and mixed suits is better. I contend that the illusion at work here, in the realistic amount of time and the realistic geography by which you demonstrate these things in a realistic environment, that illusion is better than the vast majority of long-standing parlor prop illusions, right? So you have parlor prop illusions where you have tubes and boxes and pans and mats and dishes and glasses and all kinds of different things that you might use that are prop oriented that might have secrets ingrained into them. Usually the illusion element of it is much easier to see than what this is. This is even more buried than that, right? That it's just the illusion of mixture here is far more convincing than most other illusions that are commonly used in parlor and stage magic. So, I mean, you can look at a show, David Copperfield's stage show, a stage show with cabinetry illusions. I mean, let's be real. Cabinetry illusions have not changed. It's the same kinds of methods being applied over and over again. However, these shows, they sell out. I mean, day after day after day, twice a day, all week long, and make a boatload of money on ticket sales. People go to see that stuff, and it still holds up to the normal general audience. It's just they don't necessarily understand the methods at work there, even though we fully appreciate cabinetry illusions. This illusion is better visually than those. Change my mind. Okay, that's just I think it's observably true, right? So that's my point, is you can have a stack that's hardly mixed at all. It's only mixed in very minimal ways. And then you can use that stack in real environments with real spectators and even probably with magicians and really make a killing on your effects, not really having to do a lot of memorization, just depending on manipulation and very basic calculation. Now, what I want to talk about right now is something that occurred to me afterward. I wish this had occurred to me before I did the last video, but I hadn't given at least this part of thought to it. This is not something I use a lot. I may start using it more. I may, just from having convinced myself of these things in this little series here, I may try to use this a little bit more because I think it packs a lot of punch for a lot less. You're doing a whole lot more with a whole lot less, I guess we'll put it that way. But one thing that occurred to me was in terms of mental calculation and in terms of manipulation, this actually can be carried better. So what I was talking about was having it kind of in this, what I would call like a root position, where it is 2, 4, 6, 8 from this side, and then going the other direction, ace, 3, 5, and so on. Okay, but what if we took the top 3 cards and moved them to the bottom, so that we're actually considering the second grouping being in root position, and the first being -3, the third group being +3, and now the fourth group, which would start at 40, being -4. So it's minus the 1 plus the 3 that we moved. You're never going to be adding or subtracting more than 4. 4 for the fourth group, 3 for group 1 in group 3. It's a lot less calculation you have to do. You don't have to think about 2 layers. You only have to think about 1 layer in either direction. Does that make sense? So in terms of the calculation that I was talking about in the Walk in the Woods video, you're not thinking about a clock of 3s and going 3, 3, 3, or -1 on the fourth one, right? You really only go one direction. You're either going -3, you're going +3, or you're going -4, 2 and 2, which is a lot easier mentally to deal with. In terms of manipulation in spread, like we talked about on the last video, you would separate out the top 3 cards and then put a break at the bottom 4 cards. And you can either take the bottom 3 or take the bottom 4, depending on your manipulation, but it's less to deal with. You're not looking at 2 hit points in the top and shifting 6 cards, or dealing with math in 6 or 9 or whatever the case is. Okay, so carrying it so that you have 3 automatically revolved around. Now, what this does for us too is in terms of presentation is I can just leave things like this. And now I don't have that ace down there. I've got a 4 on the top. It's a jack down here. The cards are offset just a little bit more in terms of suit grouping. And it's just a little less hairiness going on in terms of presentation. I don't have to shift things around very much. So what does this look like in terms of calculation? If I leave this in the box and I just do calculation, now, because I'm dealing with less numbers, I don't even really have to think about clocks. I'm just adding or subtracting 3 or 4 for the top one. So let's think about this for a moment. Now, in terms of manipulation, I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's do calculation first. So calculation, remember that the second group, the tens group, is actually in position, starting at 11 being 1. 11, 12, 13, 14, and so on, okay? And then up to 21, 22, 23 for the end of the group, 13 cards, okay? So let's do this. If I pick a card at random, King of Hearts. So this is actually 1 because the odds run opposite, okay? So it's in the first position in the group. Now, in terms of what it is, it's the Hearts group, so it's actually the third grouping. What I have to do is I have to add 3 because I'm already set up for the second group as base. So to go to the third group, I'm adding 3 to what the calculation is. If this is 1 in the third grouping, which is 20s, remember that. It's the groups are single digits up to 13, or the second grouping is starting at 11, the tens group. The third group is actually 20s. So this would be 21, but I need to add 3 more. I'm shifting up 3. So I'm thinking 21, 2, 3, 4. It's actually 24. So the King of Hearts would be at 24. Now the other thing this does for me is that at the onset, because I've shifted 3, if I'm counting face up, I don't have cards that are hitting that cycle 2, 4, 6. Not right away. I will later, but not immediately. It's not going to be something that's right off the bat noticed. Okay, so 24, King of Hearts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. By the way, I'll just show 14, remember. Here's where I'm hitting it. So 12, 13, 14. I'm already into clubs and hearts. I haven't had to go too far because I've shifted a few off. So I'm seeing a diversity of cards just by doing that in terms of face-up counting. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Here's 24. King of Hearts is my hit. And I've seen all of the suits within that time frame. So in terms of face-up counting, this does a lot for me too. But the calculations are a lot easier if I just think about the second group as being root, the first group as being a -3, the third group as being +3, and then the fourth group starting at 41 rather, being a -4. -4, because it's always -1 starting at 41. That's how the calculations work. It just happens that way. But because I've taken 3 off, it's -4 when I get to that one. Okay, so let's, I don't know, do another one here just to prove the point. A whole lot less to deal with if you just by removing those 3, the math gets easier. Seems like it's more convoluted, but the math actually gets easier, and you'd be more likely to do it because you just have to count single positions. So not another king. We'll do a different card. Try not to get a king or a jack. I want a number. I want a hard one. I'm trying to get it. These are actually too easy. I'm getting ones on the end. Aces and kings and jacks. What's the top card? This is let this be known. In my book, Thoughts on Akan from a Common Magician, I spend a short segment in there on the chance outcome as a method. And this is kind of the point that you do have tendencies to hit certain things just by chance, right? In this case, things we don't want. But sometimes you, by chance, hit things you do want. And if you think about the number as being the number exactly or shy by 1, because you can always cut off that number of cards and then hit, you're now into a situation where by chance alone, someone naming a card, someone naming a number, it's 1 chance in 26, half the deck. So those odds are actually better than you think. It's worth it to take a chance sometimes and just say, if I say, think of a card, name a card, and they name a card. And if I say, name a number, what number do you think of? And you might have 1 chance in 26 where these two things actually work out. But if you don't, the out is really simple. It's super simple. I'm giving away a chapter in the book, a short chapter in the book, just a couple paragraphs, okay? But useful. I can say in that moment, if it's not a hit, I say, now what's interesting is that you name that card, it's actually one of the top 4 cards that people name, even if it's not true. Just say that, right? And when you say that number, that's actually one of the top 5 numbers that people just automatically name, which means that these are not really, the intuition you have is not really random, right? You're likely to hit these, and magicians know that just by culture and by common choices, these are likely to end up together, and I could take advantage of that. But what if we actually were methodical in our choice? Now I'm justifying equivoque. I could go through a card selection after having done that and having a miss. First of all, I could have had a hit, and then I'm Bergloss effect clean. But if I have a miss, now I'm justifying the process of choosing colors, values, suits, getting a card, and actually doing it genuinely, and then doing equivoque on the number, which is the presentation we talked about last week. So I'm just throwing that out there. Chance operations. I keep hitting things I don't want. I want a card, a hard one. Give me a hard one. There we go. Okay. 5 of spades. So this is actually going to be 9. 5 is 9 going in reverse. It's something I memorize, easy to memorize, right? And the spades are in the 4th group. So if I was thinking about this in normal position, minus the 1 for the 4th, I'd have to take 1 card away to get it right. I'm in the 4th group. This would be 49. And if I remove that 1 card, it would be 49. If I leave it, I have to go 1 in reverse. It's actually 48, right? But because I'm in this position where I've moved 3 cards, what I'm thinking of for the 4th group is minus 4. I just have to go backwards from there, minus 4. So if this is 49, I'm going back from there 4 cards. 8, 7, 6, 5. This should be 45. 45, okay? So 45 cards if I count all the way through this. And I'm going to count this face up just so you can see how little anybody cares about what these cards are being dealt down. Nobody cares what these cards are being dealt down, even though the suits are grouped up in big chunks and blocks. And even though there will be one moment where for a very short period of time, the even cards will line up to the counting for one brief moment for a series. Even though those things are in place, nobody cares about the cards that are being dealt face up. They're thinking about the card that we're looking for in the number that it's going to be found at, 45 in this case. So minus 4 for the 4th group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. This is 45. 5 of spades, and it's a hit. So the math is a lot simpler just by keeping 3 cards off. And I have a much better looking spread that I can lay out in front of people. So again, just by taking 3 off, it's going to be minus 3 for the first group. Leave it alone for the second group, starting in the 10s, 11, 12, and so on. And for the third group, starting at 21, it's going to be plus 3. Whatever it is would be starting at 21. I'm going to add 3 to that, and that's what it will be. And then for the fourth group, it'll be starting at 41, and I remove 4 cards to find out what the number is. And now I don't have to really do anything. The calculations are very accessible. That being said, the manipulation is easier. As I said, from spread, I leave a group of 3 over here, and I leave a group of 4 on the bottom, and then I can spread shift that. Either I spread shift minus the 1, or minus 3, or minus 3 from the top if I want to manipulate to get it clean. But honestly, the calculations are so easy, I just really probably don't even need to bother with it. I'm a lot cleaner. Now, what does this look like from the box? Well, now I can do a box shift. You want to have a box that has this kind of design where the back flap side is cut down about 1/4 of an inch. So the US Playing Card Company boxes automatically come like this. But if you have a box that's not like this, here's a box that was not like that, I just cut that into it. And the reason why this is beneficial is because I want to be able to grab all of the cards and pull them out. I want to be able to do that. I don't want to have anything laying behind. I want this to be clean. It's just a good idea anyway. Even if you have to dump cards out, you want to be able to have access and then have everything free and dumped so nothing accidentally gets left behind. But all I'm doing now from this, if I need to remove from the top, if I need to calculate into the third group and I need to remove those 3, all I need to do is take the top 3, and then I thumb off 1, 2, and 3. I pull out the remaining cards, drop those 3 to the bottom, and now I've shifted them as I place them onto the table or into a spectator's hand. When I'm going from the face, if I need to do 1 card or 4, it's the same thing. Because I've got this flap, I can now grab all cards, pull them out, thumb off either the 1 card for the group up there, or 3 cards for 1 group, for the third group, I guess is what it would be to add. Or I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4th group to subtract, whatever. Again, if you're going to do it in this way, I don't see a reason to have to manipulate. The calculations are just too stupid easy to count in reverse or count forward no more than 4, usually just 3. So that is that's the idea, is just leave it offset by 3, putting group 2 in the root position with this spread. You don't really have to manipulate anything. You just do the math by counting. You don't have to subtract by 3. Just do count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4 to get there. So that's something I just wanted to share with you here in about 10 minutes. Just another idea that improves the look of it, improves the counting from face. It's not so much that we don't want cards to line up with counting. You mostly don't want cards to line up with counting right away. If it happens later on for a small group, that's not a big deal, right? It's the fact that it happens immediately that you have that opportunity, that chance that someone looking at it might say, oh, that's kind of funny that happened that way. But if it doesn't happen right away, it doesn't get jogged in the mind. Again, nobody cares about these cards that are going face up. They just need to see changes of values in color. The fact that it's red, black, red, black, red, black is not going to be jogged in their mind because there's so much other illusion going on in a change of values in color and suit and whatever. You don't need your cards to be as mixed up as you think. All of the advantages of having those other more complex decks are not that the advantages are not that big because there wasn't really that much of an issue to begin with. Okay, that's the point I'm making. Anyway, name the stack. If you know a name for the stack, put it in there. If it exists, even anything similar, we should probably call this that, right? Anything similar. If you don't and you have a name for this, put the name in there and I'll pick the best one and we'll come back and we'll name it. So anyway, my thoughts on that in terms of simplifying calculations and improving the visual of it. Just move 3. Group 2 is in root position. -3 for group 1, +3 for group 3, -4 for group 4, and you're there. Okay. Good luck with that. Happy magicking.